The graveyard was larger than the boy had imagined. He scrambled across the graves, muttering prayers to every god he'd ever heard of, eyes cast low. He couldn't get into the first crypt when he tried. The doors were shielded shut. There was a chain on the woven copper gates of the next crypt. He tugged at the gate as hard as he could, and the chain gave a little, but there wasn't enough space for even a small dog to squeeze through. The boy thought he heard movement behind him as he jerked on the gates. He stood shivering, head lowered, eyes shut, expecting an attack. But with nothing left out of the gloom, he backed up cautiously and hurried to the next crypt. He almost didn't try this door. It was on hinges and slightly ajar, but it was carved of stone, and he doubted that he had the strength to move it. But rain was lashing down, he was exhausted and freezing, so, with no real hope, he grabbed the edges of the door and pulled. It slid open so smoothly that he slipped and fell into the mud. Landing with a splash, he tensed and peered into the darkness of the crypt. Maybe it had opened so easily because something inside had pushed at the same time that he pulled. But the boy couldn't see anything lurking within. So, with one last quick prayer, he got to his feet, wiped rain and mud from his face, then ducked and entered the crypt. At first, he thought it was pitch black. Then he closed his eyes for a while, and when he opened them again, he found that he could see fairly well. He studied the crypt in closer detail. There were brick walls on either side, behind which the coffins rested. There was a strange, sort of ornamental fountain in the middle. No sign of any ghosts. Growing braver, he moved into the centre of the crypt. It was chilly and damp in here, but a lot warmer and drier than outside. His stomach rumbled and he winced. He was starving. He hadn't eaten since the night before. As he approached the fountain, he saw that it was covered in cobwebs. He studied the strands for spiders. He had eaten insects before when he was hungry, but they were either hiding or had moved on. With a sigh, he figured he might as well try the cobwebs. He doubted they'd fill him up. They might even make him sick. But he had nothing to lose. He ran a couple of fingers through one of the webs, breaking the strands. Then he twirled his fingers around several times, adding to the webby covering. When it was thick enough to hide his flesh, he brought the fingers to his mouth and peeled off the webs with his teeth. He gagged, almost got sick, but then gulped and forced down the disgusting, dusty webs. He swiftly scooped up more, working his way down from the top of the fountain to the bottom. He kept looking for spiders, or even a few dead flies, but no joy. Then, as he was sucking more of the strands from his sticky fingers, someone spoke from a spot high above and behind him. "Are cobwebs a treat where you come from?" The boy whirled defensively, eyes locking on the wall above the door, the one place he hadn't thought to check when he entered the crypt. Something was attached to the bricks. It looked like a man, but the boy was sure it wasn't. It was a red-skinned beast with a pale face and long dark hair streaked with white. Its claws were dug into the bricks, and it was studying the boy with what looked like a wicked, bloodthirsty smile. The boy darted through the door, certain he was too late, that the creature would drop in front of him and block his way before ripping into him and tearing him apart. But to his surprise, the beast never moved, and a second later he was in the doorway, freedom just a couple of paces ahead of him. "I would ask you to stay a while," the creature said, and something in its tone made the boy pause. He glanced upwards and saw that the thing had lowered its head. Only a handful of inches now separated their two faces. The boy squealed and slammed back into the jump of the doorway, but still he didn't spill out of the crypt and run away, because the creature hadn't sounded threatening when it spoke. It had sounded lonely. "What are you?" the boy gasped. "Should not the question be, who am I?" the creature asked, then released its grip, dropped to the floor, and stood. The boy saw that it was actually a man, or at least it had the body and face of one. The red he had glimpsed was the material of the man's clothes, not his skin, which, from what the boy could see, was no different to any other person's. Aren't you a monster? The boy asked, eyeing the man suspiciously. The man chuckled. I would not describe myself as one, although there are many who would. Then, to the boy's surprise, the man extended a hand. The boy's heart was pounding in his chest, but he didn't want to be impolite, so he stuck out a trembling arm of his own and shook hands with the man. And as he did so, for some bizarre reason, his sense of fear slipped away entirely, and he began to feel, in some strange way, as if he had come home and was in the company of a friend. This crypt is my home for the night, the man said as they shook hands. You are more than welcome to share it with me if you wish. Thank you, the boy said weakly, as if in a dream. By the way, the man added, my name is Sibanile.
Yes!
May I ask, what is yours?
Lorten
The boy
Crepsley.
gulped, then croaked, I'm Larten. Larten Crepsley.
Yes!
I bid you welcome, Larten, Siba said warmly, and without releasing the boy's hand, he led him back into the shadows of the crypt. And that's where Mr. Crepsley's life as a vampire began.
Yes!